brown hair. And I got this in all of you. I'm singing silly songs. It's not really a silly feeling day, but you know, I have some ideas for how we might start to feel like it's possible to feel a little bit better. Hi, United Trap Fam. Hi, Shardmeister. How are you? We're going to be hanging out in this environment for a little bit. This is the Neijing Tu. It's a chart from Chinese medicine that helps with the experience of trauma and growth. So it helps us encode. Oh, look at that. It's also low. Oh, there we go. Exciting things happening in the pineal gland right now. Thanks to the screensaver on my computer. I want you to know I have shorts on. Okay, I'm just having an issue with fabric today. I think like a lot of people, I've been feeling pretty, I've just been having feelings for the last couple days. And these practices are amazing for starting to feel a little bit different, a little bit better. So I want to share some of them with you today and invite you to get some free materials up there, or there's even a $20, it's like your own encyclopedia of amazing. But let's talk about the Neijing Tu and how we can use this to contemplate trauma and also healing. And plus, I'm very much enjoying that. I can't see it from here, but I can see it in the screen. So I think that's what I'd like to offer today for a hello for a little lunchtime. So let me get down on the ground so you're not having to look at my... I am 55, but I will never, ever, ever, ever be mature enough to wear uncomfortable clothes for no reason. Okay? I don't see any reason to be uncomfortable in my own whatever fabric is on my body. So I have a summer dress on today. So this is the Neijing Tu. And this chart is what your acupuncturist uses to communicate with your fascia and your nervous system. If you've been to any of these lives that I've done, I'm often describing this chart in different ways. You'll hear me say, oh, this is your corpus callosum. Or, oh, this is your vagus nerve. Hello, thank you. Or, oh, this is biological evolution. We haven't had that conversation yet. Like everything in Taoism, as a symbol, it can be used a whole bunch of different ways. It's just very, very complex geometry. It's no different symbolically than yin and yang. Still black and white. Still pretty much guiding us into some sort of perceived binary that yesterday or the day before, I had this idea that if we start contemplating binaries like prime numbers, where a prime number you can only divide by itself and one, that creates a binary of like weird impossibilities, but also like super cool possibilities, without having to also do like a binary of like separating something into halves. Because some of what, oh, thank you. You think, I think that's like a nice little reset in the idea, but I'm also wanting you not to be subjected to this screensaver anymore. So just give me one sec. I'll put my painting, what is this called? Apron in front of it, and that'll keep it, there we go. All right, so let's take a look. And if you are like, sometimes I get very overwhelmed if I have to change what I'm looking at, but if it's not too weird or disruptive for your process, in the upstairs, there's a free bundle that has this and all the basic physical practices for your organs, which is breathing. And hey, guess what? It doesn't even have to be like a big deal breathing. And there's also another thing, but let me go grab my markers as well. The markers as well. There's my kitty cat. There's my other kitty cat. Hi. How are you? Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Come on in. There we are. Oh boy, they have been Mr. and Mrs. Rambunctious Unctious the last couple of days. A friend of mine was in town from New York, and they came over. We crafted for like 4 hours the other day. It was so much fun. With our masks on, of course, because I have to be and she is. So the cautious. Anyway, yes, here we are. The inner landscape. I know it's a little bit not exactly in front of your face, but that's okay. And also, this is what a human is in Chinese medicine, and it's super duper important because this human is alive, not ready to be operated on or being dissected. That is Darla. She is very alive. Okay. Here we are with the magical mystical Neijing Tu. So let me write that for you so you have that spelling. I wonder where my other thing is. Neijing Tu. Chart of the inner landscape, or also it's sometimes called the inner warp. So if you're a fiber artist at all, you do any kind of sewing or needlecraft, it's a warp like that. It's like you would do sewing with, or needlepoint is how I understand it. So with needlepoint, I think I have one of my mother's right here. Needlepoint. This is, my fairy godmother made this. So folks who do needlepoint use a netting, a web that has holes in it. There are different kinds of webs and nettings, different kinds of holes, different kinds of thread that you can use, different kinds of whether or not you have a pattern. It can be so different. But this is what the inner warp is, okay? In nature and in structure, so form and function. That makes this our inner matrix, if you like matrices, if that's like something that's exciting for you. It's the matrix of a human expressed through how our nerves, blood vessels, brain, on how we grow. We grow through three primary vectors. So if I was to create a neural network that would be something that would grow up to be a human, because you and I have three axes in our body that make us three-dimensional, I would have to have three initial nodes of the neural net. And one would make you strong in favor of gravity, the transverse. One would make you strong, fully reflecting gravity, that's the coronal, and then one would make you strong against gravity, and that's the sagittal. Hey, guess what? Yeah, three axes. Hello, we are three dimensions. We always get brought into these things where people say like, what is it? You know, don't be binary or black and white thinking, and then all of the definitions are themselves binary and black and white. So all you need to not be binary is three things, because then you have a trine. Taoism and Chinese medicine operates through the geometry of three. Same way if I was building a neural network to turn into a brain, either three axes or three factors. Oh, look at my kitty cat. Yeah, hi. How are you? This Darla. So we're never fully invited into a regulation framework with this way of contemplating the body. Excuse me. My bagel just said hello. But we're never asked to be regulated. We're invited to experience resonance. A lot of that has to do with our external environment and just like crap that we don't have any choice with. Current events as an example. I know. So there are things that we can contemplate and do that will, it's almost like, it's like if you have a plant and you want the leaves to grow in a certain direction, you can just kind of like move the light a little bit and the plant will start to follow the light. That's one of the ways that the body-mind starts to relax around the injuries that we have so that those injuries have space to heal. Physically, literally, you might go get myofascial release at the at the physiotherapist for like a frozen shoulder. That same kind of a principle can occur with our consciousness as well, where we can just provide more space. And then just with the more space, the experience of this can start to relax. Exactly. Darla says yes. Thank you. Well, please go get your free things, but also let's hang out with the inner warp. Ma'am, what do you want? She's very needy today. They were very kind to me yesterday. I don't know how your yesterday was. I don't remember like it was just like a day. But so here's the inner warp. And the inner warp's called the Neijing Tu, and it represents the inner part of what this map shows, which are the meridians of our body in Chinese medicine, and they all go with our organs. Right? Isn't that cool? I know, she's amazed. Yeah. What is it that you need, my darling? Do you want water? I'm being called to the tub. Give me one moment. No, honeys. You silly girl. You are so demanding. I have to find out what kind of snacks I can feed you that aren't going to make you gain pudgy weight. I cannot be, knowingly overfeeding you. That is not my job. Okay, I'm complaining to my cat because we all know who's in charge. The cat's in charge. All right, so the inner warp, the inner landscape. So this is, I call her Dr. Vika Corey. I used to live with her. Her name, she's a neuroscientist from Harvard. She's really super duper smart. So this is the virtue. I contemplate this as like the most virtuous way of contemplating our brains and our minds, because Vika gets it. She understands neurodivergence. She understands trauma. She's an Aikido black belt, and she's been researching the brain for decades. So we're going to go into our own nervous system through somebody who is virtuously studying it, unlike other doctors who want to put us in jail. Good job, Katie. So also she and I are in a big argument about the intersection of physics and neuroscience, but that's a separate conversation. She called me a crackpot, and I was like, hey, lady, just because I don't do math. Anyway, I love having friends who are so much smarter than I am and willing to be with my massively big ideas. But I want to tell you, all she's getting stuck on is the corpus callosum doesn't matter in the brain. And I am here to tell you it very much does. So this blue line here, this is the water element in our body. It's because you're back. La hefe, 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 Jade. Thank you. So the water element in our body, the aha that I just had is one of the effects of the microcosmic orbit, which is one of the meditation practices that is in the videos that you get with the big investment of 20 bucks. I just realized though, I didn't give you like a lovely introduction. So I will maybe add that, but $20 for like, seriously, you'll have enough to teach it to your kids, the emotional regulation piece. And I've also shown it to you. This is, you get these same things in the free stuff. So just like go get whatever is appropriate, because these are the practices that are gonna help all of us in the coming months. Because they go straight to our organs, okay? And so I just want to show you what your flashcards look like. They're super practical, okay? Love at the heart, but also the inner child on the star bridge. So this is like fully galactic, acts like genuinely practical. Whereas I used to say as a kid, practical acticals. I just needed to be practical. Yes, my darling. Hi. She's not practical, but I don't mind. So let's see, I have not yet done a, like, let's take a trip from the bottom to the top of the Neijing Tu and hang out with Vika while we do it. And I think this would be really useful for seeing how mapping something to the body and experiencing it through are not the same. 100%, 100 fucking percent of any somatic framework that you and I are guided into right now that ends up having to have a license, a little okay from the American Psychiatric Association, none of it actually includes the body. I know. It also doesn't contemplate you and me as able. I mean, the nature of Western medicine is disability and death. Yes, my darling. I don't think so. So the Neijing Tu is the chart of the inner landscape, and this is Dr. Vika Puri, and these are actually the same if you know how to read them the way that they're the same. So the way that these are the same is the channels in our body, the meridians that go with our main organs, the heart, the pericardium, the spleen, the lungs, and the liver. Those show up in paired tracks, meridian tracks on the body, so that either through pressure or puncture with a tiny, tiny little needle, doctors can, it's almost like you're doing like little micro mini electric, current manipulation, because it's using metal literally, right, with the prick, but then also the fluid in our fascia, which is called lymph. And our lymph is very, very involved in our experience of immunity and having an immune system, and very much autoimmunity. Also, our fascia, which is what this is charting, is the location of many of our pain pathways and the other neuro pathways that are communicating things from the bottom up, like all the fancy words you and I get accused of not having: interoception, exteroception, proprioception, alexithymia, when you can't name an emotion. These are all contemplated as disorders, and they are disabling, but they don't have to be contemplated as disorders, bad, wrong, that makes you and me inherently fucked up. Because like the truth and the fact of our neurodivergence, or the trauma we carry, or the oppression we've been born into, which I don't understand, I just know it exists terribly, right? Those are some things that we can't change, but we can try to do something with the atmosphere, try to do something with the inner experience. Ma'am, I don't think it's polite to smack me in the face. And I also am not going to feed you. She's already had alexithymia. Yeah, Alexithymia. But it's where you have a difficult time labeling emotions. So the emotional alchemy in this system, which is bringing like sweet breezes and lovely island, margaritas to your nervous system, goes to the organs. So the execution of it is very, very direct. So from just a practical perspective to the lungs, you would bring the tip of your tongue to the ridge behind your upper teeth like this, and then just smile. Oh, I'm glad you like it. This is all from, it's called Neidan. It's Taoist inner alchemy. It's extremely esoteric. And I have managed to at least make it a little bit more tangible. So you breathe in courage and let go of grief with the S. And that's it. And then if you're looking at the target and you've got just a tiny little bit of just a hint of a smile, that's going to bring some lift into this area. And then also it starts to increase this experience of this space, especially between our ribs and our lungs. And this is one of the areas between the ribs and the lungs, and very much in the side body, that with experiences of collapse like depression or having hypermobile tissues or shock, this can get really jammed. It can kind of get like a little like squeezed from an energy perspective. So the lungs can just start to increase that experience. And this right down here, this is where we really start to feel the fear viscerally. This is called the gate of life. This is where the kidneys are. I think the Neijing Tu in the, will it help with your surgery and colostomy bag? I will tell you that in my family, this helps with gut issues, but I'm not going to say anything about your ostomy, other than my father and other family members have had ostomies, and the healing sounds have assisted. I've also seen these work within contexts like heart surgeries and liver. The science behind it from China, okay, not from Katie, and also not from ResearchGate. It's from China. This all happened. Chinese medicine is, you might have heard of TCM, traditional Chinese medicine. Oh, dialysis is terrifying. So the sound for the kidneys is chew. The wake and bake is lovely. Chew, C-H-O. Chew. It certainly is part of the experience of anxiety. So the kidneys emotionally are where we experience shock and calm. And Sparkle Moon, what funny name I love, one of my videos yesterday goes through all of the 6 healing sounds. It's in the playlist, How to Do the Things. And there's the free upstairs, and then the $20 that gets you like the video stuff. There's also like a yoga manual in it that I wrote for teachers 10 years ago. I'm just giving you all my stuff, but also I need to survive human. So these breaths, so this is for the pericardium, which is I call it the cosmic ball sack of love. It's really actually very important. It's another place where we experience water elementally in our body. So we have water in our spine, literally, right, through cerebral spinal fluid. This up here, this whole waterfall here is visualizing something called the glymphatic system. in the brain, which was only identified by the West several years ago. The glymphatic system is the waste removal system for the brain and the cerebral spinal fluid. And this is impacted when the body is experiencing inflammation. And then that can affect how things like executive functioning show up. Just because like the waste removal isn't removing the waste. So we have water, right, in the brain. And then because of the pericardium, even though the heart is super duper fire in nature, you can go download them upstairs. There's a free version that has a tour and translations, and then also there's a $20 option. So the child on the Star Bridge, he's like in the house of the pericardium. And I made this shape for the pericardium oblong because it's very absent from all of Western medicine anymore, thanks to life support, very specifically, and the modern emergency room. But I don't want to go into like a big cultural contemplation other than to say, if you can start pretending like you have a cosmic ball sack of love, pericardium, everything around the heart starts to soften and open, and the heart's like, thank you for remembering I have a home. Thank you so much. So the doctor who invented CPR, rapid intubation, and the modern emergency department did all of that at once. He's one of the adults who raised me. His name's Peter Safar. He really had to change Western medicine at its core in order to integrate his technology into hospitals. And the way that he did the integration was by experimenting in very poor hospitals here in Pittsburgh. So there's a history that a lot of us are not consciously aware of around how we currently now define the line between life and death, recurrent pericarditis. So pericarditis is inflammation of the pericardium. The two sounds for the heart are, and these are also, I'm not telling you anything with this practical stuff, all of this is in those free materials, but the two sounds are ha That's for the heart, and he is for the pericardium. We don't practice them right together typically. You're welcome. You're very welcome. Please go download the things, because the essential flashcards give you the breaths, the formula for transforming the emotions, and also what order they would go in if you wanted to do them all in order. I love an a la carte organ breath personally, but if I'm doing the whole, like all 6, I'll do them in the order that I was taught. Yay, you got them downloaded. That's awesome. So it's upstairs in the link tree. There's one is free and one is $20. The free has everything you need, bare bones. I'm not being a jerk. $20 has teachings and additional documents and papers and some like handbooks. I've just published so much over the years, sort of relating to how I've put everything together, that it's all still relevant. So I put there's a 130-page manual in there for yin yoga. I know y'all aren't yoga teachers, but you can look at some of these postures and they're related to the meridians, and then you can just get a sense of also just how I approach a body, which is pretty much like it's not my body, so you're in charge. Let me go get my black markers though, because they'll be much easier to perceive. Oh, I love that you're considering teaching it. Yeah. So teach it at the level that you see it. because I'm not even teaching it fully to you, right? So the level of the breath right now is like gas exchange, which truly, truly can be enough, especially for kids. There's a breath for anger that goes shush. And it helps our liver. Shh. So it helps the experience of anger. It helps to let some of that go. Sometimes I do need to scream, like from a discharge perspective. I'll be right back. Oh, here it is, right next to me. I'm so good to me. Just need something to wipe it with. Hi, Kitty. All right, we'll use our hands. I had a stroke several years ago. Up in my bio, the first link is, I think the first one is free, second one is not, or the other ones, but if you go the free, you still get everything that you need. The $20 just gives you like a whole bunch of extra stuff. And I wanted to just do all the extra stuff and make it reasonable, because breathwork in general, of course breathwork helps. You know, of all of the functions, they're called life functions. At least that's how I learned them. I learned them as essential life. Oh, Nestor, nice. I don't know him. But the essential life functions are the ones that give us the label, all of the biological categorization labels we have as humans. And the easiest one for us to override is breathing. But everything you hear about nervous system regulation, you know, what else? I've trained with all these doctors. They talk about like dorsal dominance, vagal dominance, like all these words. Those are all speaking to measurements on a page, not how you are walking around on the planet. And how the planet is walking around right now is in pain and having experienced a global 8 billion person large singular adverse childhood experience for our inner child. We've done nothing to address it, and fucking Bessel van der Kolk also did nothing. So he's still selling you trainings. He wrote The Body Keeps the Score. He's still selling you trainings about how to do post-traumatic growth. He has not yet acknowledged the moving of the post in 2020. It's an impossible state to sustain. That's the problem. Anything that's automagic, and our vagus nerve works automagically in our body, we should never be able to fully override, because that would mean we would also be obligated to be in charge of it. And that just doesn't make automagic functioning make sense. So all of like the biofeedback measurements and being able to measure breath, and like they're looking at your retinas and all this stuff, those are all like verified against a checklist. And then what they teach is nervous system regulation through your vagus nerve. They never talk to you about your brain. I've asked them, what about the neural networks in the brain? How are we balancing the salience network? Oh, that doesn't matter. It's just your vagus nerve. Oh, really? You're a neuroscientist and you're not fucking looking at the whole brain? Fascinating. I am being yelled at by my cat. Yes, my darling. What is it that you need? You want some water? Do you need some water? Yes, I am right. There's not a lot that I get certain about like this. I am very certain. The cultural impact of the choices that specifically van der Kolk, Levine, and Porges made at the beginning of the pandemic are partially why we're fucked up in this mess right now. They had a global audience and they just pushed forward instead of, hey man, we are the holy trinity of whatever, and Oh, I'm so excited for that. And now we have a new context. Now we have a global context. Let's take the science that we have and see how we can apply it in this dynamic context. They would have had so many captive eyes. Instead, they've just been selling their trainings, and now your yoga teacher has been trained the same way they train your fucking therapist. They're not making, it's like amazing. Can I recommend books on the subject I'm speaking to? I would say Deb Dana. Deb Dana wrote a book called Anchored, which is pretty good. Deb Dana is a polyvagal theory person who's, I find her to be, she's more like relational with how she contemplates it and less regulatory. And then also internal family systems is really good too. That's the Richard Schwartz work. And there are a lot of like self-guided internal family systems spaces, so that it's one of those things that you can also use like on your own. But I can't teach that to you on your own because I'm trained in it. So I would have to, and I'm not a licensed therapist. Neuroinflammation. Neuroinflammation, inflammation of the nerves, inflammation around the like I feel like that's a myelin sheath, right? So when we're guided into regulation, nervous system regulation, that's saying that you and I can put a little needle in somewhere, like with our mind, and then poof, everything is better. Oh, and also it'll stay that way. Total crock of shit. Not possible. So the Taoism says not only is that not possible, but it's unreasonable to obligate one person to be in charge of, prove, and also provide any kind of healing that they need. And also that like my lived experience after a stroke and cancer and your lived experience after you've experienced, they're going to influence how we perceive our own sensations in our body. Ma'am, what is it you want? She's very having it. Yeah, I know. Look, you left a big mess on the floor because you had a big. Oh, you're so cute. Do you want some water? Do you want to go to the bathroom? Want some water? She's adorable, truly. I will be right back. She's telling me bathroom, water. Yes, ma'am. Come on, let's go. Come on. What's this? This is it, kitty. Ooh, look at this. Wow, Darla. Look at that. That's so kitty. Oh my goodness, you're so pretty. You're such a pretty kitty. You're so pretty. Yeah. Kitty. Aw. This is what we're doing. Yeah. All right. My sweet little girl. She wants more SHRIMP and she's not. Thank you for gifts. That's so sweet. All right. So, nervous system resonance. Just resonate rather than regulate. And that does not mean that regulation isn't part of the equation. What it means is regulation is a factor of, and so if we're contemplating or moving towards a resonant state with somebody, that also replaces this co-regulation, where I'm going to co-regulate with you. No. It's hugging your favorite library teacher from 4th grade and being like, yay. That's the experience. in chemistry, it would be called something like a covalent bond. So the way that the organs are illustrated here is many. This is so clearly your brain, isn't it? Hi, Darla. Thank you. There's your brain. I might be able to turn this light off now. I have better lighting. I don't get good lighting during the winter in this part of my apartment, and I really don't like bright lights. Okay, so that's your brain. And as I was speaking to the water element earlier, as an element perspective, the brain is connected to the water of our spinal cord, cerebral spinal fluid. Okay, this also shows, I don't know if you can see, she's giving me a haircut. This also shows your pineal gland here. This shows saliva, so this is very water. The heart is shown here, heart and pericardium. This is very often, this bowl is contemplated as the stomach. It can also be contemplated as a peen, obviously. Down here, this is perineum and whatever organs we have. Here is either a literal or a metaphoric uterus called the inner cauldron or the hara. Darla. Pardon me. Thank you for the loves. She's being very fucking bothersome. Come here. I'm so not supposed to be doing this. You get a little bit of your later afternoon wet food. Okay? I feel like she's like developed binge eating disorder or something. Okay. She's happy. She has more. She probably does what lemon, but she also just got some more wet food. So hopefully that'll be good. All right. So I was sharing how that could be the stomach. This is the spine. So this is very metaphor. Okay. And the way that it would chart or show the vagus nerve would be the pathways of experience that the vagus nerve brings into our body rather than the measurement of the electricity or the thermodynamic, I don't know what they're measuring, vagus nerve. So this is the wandering nerve now instead of the general. So important, because look, the very most important part of yours and my nervous system is the brain and the spinal cord. That's the central nervous system. Our central nervous system is the nervous system that does all the things. Then anything that comes out of it is called peripheral. Our vagus nerve comes out of our central nervous system. So does the trigeminal nerve. If you ever have experienced TMJ, ocular, our ears, stuff that goes all the way into the body, there are tons and tons of nerves that come out of our central nervous system that automagically regulate parts of us, parts of the body of us. But the one that we're told to worry about is the one that can be the most easily measured into any kind of framework of compliance and prison, sadly. So I'm not saying like it's bad, but like, hello, I would like to have a little bit extra sauce on top so I don't just have to be like a good soldier because my little baby inner child does not want to be a soldier. My little baby inner child just wants to be a kid having fun. So yes, let's see what else. So I wanted to tell you about the inner, what did I want to say? No, it doesn't matter. I can sit here with you for a moment and gather my thoughts. I'm always working on the my performer people pleaser, because she's very committed to doing everything that you want for the A grade. Oh man, that was like my whole MO as a kid. Both of my parents were teachers, and they're really good teachers, like safe adult teachers. And then I had a whole bunch of other ones. And so my whole life I've just been like to the teaching. It's so funny. Okay, so neuroinflammation and somatic the neuroinflammation is a really weird experience. I experienced neuropathy and inflammation in TCM, like what's the word? Invasive Chinese medicine that uses the needles. Our nerves are contemplated as the experience, what's it called? Subtle circulation. And then our nerves are also contemplated as vessels, like blood vessels. And those become extraordinary organs. They're not even yin or yang. So the extraordinary organs are organs in our body that are neither yin nor yang and like relevant to life. Brain, bones, bone marrow, gallbladder, uterus, and one more I can't remember. But the uterus is in there and not other biological parts. So this whole nest down here, the inner cauldron or the hara or the seat of soma, however you decide you want to understand it and it works for you. Part of what men are learning in this alchemy is to retain and sustain an experience of fullness with the rolling pleasure, so that you change the weather, if you catch my drift. And it helps to sustain life force energy so that the testes don't have to keep creating new swimmers. You just get to enjoy all of the fun. That also makes the whole way that we're contemplating emotions very different. So that emotions are neither good nor bad, neither yin nor yang, they just are. And one of the places you can see that show up, which I should have right here for you. You can see it show up through the 5 elements. This is a chart that you would see at the acupuncturist. You have simplified versions in what I wrote for you so that you don't have to also perceive acupuncture. Limited questions. Limited questions so early on. You loved education. Exactly. So true. Loving education, not liking school. So these are the 5 elements of Chinese medicine. Metal, earth, fire, water, and wood. Something really very critically important to note here is that Chinese medicine does not have ether. It has wood. And from an alchemy perspective, that's very important because you don't have to do anything, measure anything, acquire anything in order to work internally with all of these elements. Whereas with ether, you would need a container and a measuring spoon. And what the fuck is ether? So in TCM, ether doesn't exist, but metal is what Tibetan Buddhism calls space. And that's not the same as ether. It brings in this idea called tensegrity. Tensegrity is you're not gonna be able to see that there. Tensegrity. I'm seeing where I gave myself the tensegrity. Tensegrity is a structural principle that has to do with building towards resilience in compression, extension, and growth. So it's a Buckminster Fuller dome on the planet. In the matrix, it is all the best aspects of information science, which also follow all of the logic of physics. I didn't realize that until quite recently. And it speaks to the experience of having some things that are not movable or relatively fixed, and some things that are more fluid. And so the tensegrity, it's like a tensegrity trine, where you have two things that are fixed. So maybe this is like a slack line, right? And you can like be a person on a slack line. Oh, that's cute. Can you see that? No, hold on. Let's get you to the slack line. There we go. So tensegrity, right? So you're a person on a slack line, but you could also be, let's say I'm I don't know, at a party of a certain nature, and this is a hook on the ceiling, and there's like a really beautiful plant hanging in there, and that hook is being held up by a structure. That's also a tensegrity structure, and one of the ways that you can see that in practice is through rock climbing. A web, a cocoon, an egg. Yeah, very much so. Very much so. So this whole concept of a matrix is a little bit misguided, because our bodies are matrices, and our brain is a matrix, and consciousness, at least human consciousness, mirrors the matrix nature, which is a nature of connection, not a nature of, I've never understood what this whole like escape the matrix to what? What do you think what does one become? Do you become a new species? And then also like escape the matrix, but then there's nothing critical about a lot of these teachers critically like contemplating what they're saying. So all the cosmology of Chinese medicine and all of the logic of the alchemy and the divination is in harmony with the virtues of the mechanical practice of Chinese medicine. If they're not, I've never learned it a different way. So the fire element in our body is our heart, and then also our pericardium. Earth is the spleen. Metal is our lungs. This is also in all the downloads and all of the things. Oh, you can't even see that, so it doesn't matter. Water is our kidneys. What is the liver? But also, because you are in a fractal once you come into this, okay? These are pairs. So it's liver, gallbladder, stomach, spleen, lungs, small intestine, lungs, large intestine, kidney, bladder. And so these pairings, these yin and yang as a pair, sorry, I'm like touching my phone in weird ways. As a pair, they create like a bonded pair. Just like in the Neijing Tu, at the very base of the Neijing Tu is that picture of yin and yang using some sort of something machinery. They're a bonded pair. So the way that you and I would address the experience of trauma or psycho-emotional pain would be to tend to the organs in the middle here, the yin organs. So this boundary here has to do with the way that the organs relate to each other in a way that's generative energetically. So water feeds wood, wood feeds fire, fire feeds earth, earth feeds metal, metal feeds water. But also in the middle here, it's called control, but not intervention. Water controls fire, Fire controls metal. Metal controls wood. Wood controls earth. Earth controls water. So if let's just say like you're having a moment of anger, which is a wood moment, which is a liver moment. If you wanted to get fancy pants, you could look at this chart, which you have a version of course, because again, I'm not an asshole. It's in the free stuff and the 20 stuff. 20 stuff gets even more, like a lot more. But you could support it or like kind of like boost it up a little bit by water elements things. Okay, the experience of burnout is a dry experience. And then, but you could also, if you have too much of this happening, too much liver, too much, anger, you could bring in some metal qualities. This is the quality of courage. This is the quality of precision. This is the quality of being able to discern, or just like contemplating through discernment. But it's not taking an axe to a little branch, right? It's just putting a little thing on the little branch. We don't necessarily need to whack things apart. And then the aim here, the goal, is this middle of this star here. Let me show you in black and white. And by the way, yes, you're breathing. Hold on. I don't want to give you the impression that this is in the lessons that you get when you download things. This is clearly like special today, just coming up in conversation. Okay, I don't seem to have any black markers right now. But this controlling, this is yang. Look, teeny, tiny baby little yang. And then this generative, this is yin in nature. This is pregnancy and birth. This is digestion, as an example. In the very center of this star is the child on the star bridge, is our inner child, as illustrated in this chart. So this inner child here, there's a little kid fishing with the Milky Way, actually, right at the star bridge. There is your star. And it bridges between external and internal support and threat. Currently in Western medicine, this space is fully occupied by CPR. Fully occupied. Totally. And so I will answer that in a moment. I'm not sure what that question is. So by tuning to and getting in touch with the pericardium, which is here, that's going to balance what CPR has done to our understanding of the heart here. And conveniently, you don't need to leave the circle to do that. So you can stay fully like in harmony and in balance with the practical mechanics of Chinese medicine, which if you're going to apply, then absolutely, let's follow the practical mechanics. But I don't fuck with other people's life force energy. That's your job. So the pericardium just gives us a place to expand this in the inherent experience very much that you and I have with our doctors. Because doctors, no matter what they want to think at this point, from an epigenetic perspective, we have had this CPR, intubation, ED, ECMO, life support. We've had that in our hospital systems now for 3 generations of human. 3 generations of human is where we start to see epigenetic impacts from cultural events in a species. And we're starting to see it. It's not that it's right or wrong, good or bad. It's changed how we understand life itself. Because now, thanks to Peter Safar, medical doctor, we have an idea of brain dead. We did not used to have a brain dead. We didn't used to have how long can a person be out before they have brain damage. And all of those questions are very important to this concept of you must interfere in death, but they're not useful for sustaining life. So we expand to the pericardium, and that helps the doctors around us hopefully get a little bit, they don't, your doctor, your cardiologist doesn't even think that the pericardium matters in your body at this point. It's shocking, truly alarming. How important this piece of tissue is. The pericardium is the reason that CPR works and the reason that the cardiac muscle has its own classification in our body. Cardiac muscle is unique. It's the only one is the heart. And now we're all regulating our nervous systems. That's electricity, by the way, to do that. We are brain dead, right dead, wrong dead. I don't know how you understand it, but also we, at least in the States, we need to opt out of resuscitation. We need to opt out of being brought back from the dead. There's a lot of assumption about our life force energy in Western medicine that when you don't have the pericardium as critically important to health and wellness, gee, I wonder what starts to happen. Increase in heart disease, increase in brain disease. Has to be the diet. Can't be that we've forgotten the very most important piece of tissue. Gave you a heart attack, fired up about the importance of connective tissue. Awesome. Perfect. I'm glad that you are. Yes, I can tell you all about it and encourage you into it. So how do I factor in ground or electric types? That would assume I know what that question means. That's also might have been my cleaners telling you that they're coming to clean my apartment. I told them not to come yesterday. I was having too many feelings. Too many feelings. No, okay. Let's see if you told me how about ground. I'm not sure what ground or electric types is, but I can also, let's talk about your emotions and feelings. Oh, good. I'm really glad that you're doing this. Please go get the free stuff. The $20 is going to make good sense to you in your work. Okay. How do I want to show you your emotions here? This is a lot to look at. I think this is too much to look at. To look at your emotions. Let's see if I have something else you can look at to contemplate your emotions. La la. But not really. Very much, no. Okay. Oh, actually, of course I have shit literally right in front of me ready to go. Good job, Katie. I'm going to show you the medicine reel as a medicine wheel, but I am not on my regular computer. So I need to pretend like I have a different resource. Let me see what I can. I love being magic. This is when you just turn into theater. It all becomes practical effects. La, la, da, ba, these are for readings, as people are freaking out, as am I. Okay, we'll use this. So this is just a little piece of paper. So I'm just going to put the colors here for you real quick. Boop. I need some green and I need some red. I like that you can make your own vasovagal syncope. Faint from bad news. The vasovagal experience, our vagus nerve is so intimately involved in our experience of buoyancy and like not feeling seasick on the planet. And here it's all, look at that, it's all shown here. Woo, there's a lot going on. Okay, I have 2 more colors to find. I need a gray-ish, something that can be gray. I'll make that gray. And then the other one is a yellow for the earth. This is not the most beautiful color looking thing that you're ever going to see, and that's okay. Because it just needs to be something that you can understand today. So the 5 colors, the 5 elements of Chinese medicine, these are teeny tiny. Oh, I'm using dry erase marker on paper, I think is really what isn't working. So fire element is our heart. Earth element is the spleen. Metal element is the lungs. Water element is the kidneys. Wood element is the liver. 5 of your most major important organs that if they go wrong, then something like you might not have a life anymore. So super duper, very, very, very important. And also, these are all stops on like the highway of your vagus nerve. It goes through all of these organs. It's called innervate, to pierce. Just like we have a piercer, we actually have a piercer in the Chinese medicine. Oh, look at that. She's called the weaver, but she has a needle. So the emotions that are associated with these organs speak to the qualities of the organs, the qualities of the emotions, and also like the qualities of China. Very galactic. For the heart, the emotional tension, if there is some, and then the balance that we're inviting in is the balance and the tension between love, like joyful love, and hate. I think a lot of us, I mean, I've been like rolling in rage on and off for about a month now. I don't think anybody's having a smooth week, regardless of how happy we are about the outcome of the election here in the US. So just from a like practical, doesn't even have to be assigned to any specific event in your life, you can connect into fire as an element, and then the breath is ha, which I have shown elsewhere. I'm not teaching this right now, I'm showing it to you. But so what happens in our eyes, and the reason I chose very like muted, more sepia tone colors for what you're looking at when you're looking at any information from me that has to do with your organs, they're much more closer to like dirt tone than they are neon tone. So the neon is like a chakra. The dirt is like the plant's dirt. Okay, it's just like dirt. And the reason we got to get down to dirt is because that keeps us low in our gravity in our body, so that we can be just always like on the inside. The attunement is to this as space and power, and it just starts to like be there for you. It's called the hara. The wood element is associated with the paired experiences of anger and forgiveness, and kind of like leadership, like virtuous leadership. And the experience, or what is it? The sound is shush, shh, like you're asking someone to be quiet. Pardon me. I think it's very important. The spleen, stomach and spleen go together. Spleen is worry and trust, and that's the earth element for the whole body. And the earth element for the whole body is here. So there's the earth element as an organ, which is the spleen, but also the whole body has an earth element that is positioned from the belly down, as though we're on planet Earth. And in the Chinese character for, I can't remember what, It is. I think it's what becomes the trigrams. I don't speak Chinese, but I think it's what becomes the trigrams in the Bagua. This is earth. This is human. And this is heaven. Labeled and translated that way in the literature, that the whole concept of divinity and the cosmos is first positioned and located in the head. This will be easier to read. Heaven, human, and then earth. Alchemically, from a scope of practice, and don't mess with other people's life force energy and consent and all of that, what that does is it limits even your acupuncturist to anything that occurs is going to start occurring in and around where we experience digestion and reproduction is deep, 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 big, big, big magic. Big, 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 big magic. And I was taught, don't fuck with that. I was taught that your energy, your earth energy, is not only none of my business, but my responsibility to protect in alchemy and guidance and whatever. This is where there is such a like an assumption of agency. What I mean is life force energy is chi, right? Just like prana, energy, whatever we have. The energy that you and I are born with that connects us to the planet through bloodlines is not to be fucked with directly because it goes to bloodlines. So a bloodline is what is eradicated in a genocide. And a bloodline is also what is cultivated by the Bene Gesserit in Dune. As I've been spending more time with, I'm kind of back into the art history right now. I've had enough of the medicine. The whole concept of a bloodline in some places would be like, who's the father, who's the mother, whatever. Here it's literal. Whose blood is making the baby? Whose blood is at risk when the baby happens? And are those bloods being combined in a way that is ultimately beneficial for the species? So we get into the things like why brothers and sisters should not have babies. But alchemically, any kind of alchemy that is meant to change the lived experience of your body is acupuncture, Chinese herbalism, but also this inner alchemy, because the inner alchemy is going straight to our organs. So my role is to provide you the information and the guidance and to give you enough, but not, be a good teacher. It's not to then go check on you and go, okay, are you doing it? Are you regulated? Or no, that's not how, sorry. You can't tell me that you're having a good experience, but then also not be showing up the way that I want you to. Like it's a way to concurrently offer, but then also be in contemplation about possible biases. Relationship to people who haven't been colonized, fuck if I know. My only experience is Thailand, and that was a long time ago. I do generally, because of the state of media globally, I think that all data has been colonized at this point. And certainly all modern medicine and any concept of like life-saving measures, if it's not fully indigenous, is fully colonized and based on the slave trade, based on moving bodies across the planet. This, I don't know China's colonization history. The history that I do know academically goes back thousands of years before acupuncture. I mean, some of these texts are like 5,000 years before the birth of Christ. So I'm using that to our advantage, as the model itself is not a model of colonization. It's a model of Chinese medicine. The colonized and the colonizer must cause some imbalance. There's a very direct genetic tension, right, between conquest and victim, or conquested, I guess is a better way to put that. And it's one of the ways that supremacy gets like really deeply encoded genetically. It's a big deal. It's a genuinely big deal to have made the decisions Europe made. It's a really big deal. It impacts how all of our doctors today perceive sanity and pain, in particular, relating to women and anybody with a melanated skin tone. So this is also a very good time to come into this kind of a framework, so that you also have, again, these are just tools to add. So it's not like, I mean, when I had cancer, as an example, I was doing acupuncture, but I was also doing chemotherapy because I had cancer everywhere. I'm not going to acupuncture my way through stage 3 cancer, especially not at the beginning of a global pandemic. Give me the poison, right? These 6 healing sounds are ways that we can start to tone our organs. Thank you. And those are in those free things. But then also, once we start toning the organs, this environment starts to get a little bit more environmental. And so to just plot this onto your body before I jump off, because I can feel I'm starting to get tired. Hold on. Right, so here's like a whole body. If we wanted to make this a whole body. And then there are 3 zones. Right, it's like an egg. The bottom zone, the middle zone, and the top zone. Now you have every zone you need for every like hypo-aroused, hyper-aroused window of tolerance, in, out, within, like any of those ideas from Western medicine fit it perfectly neatly in here now. And then now we can do something with it. Because the idea of like a window of tolerance, okay, you and I are not actually like a building with a thing that goes up and down and then that's the window. We're dimensional, right? This is occurring inside us and around us. So you might contemplate hyper-aroused, hypo-aroused window of tolerance. China's going to say, hey, guess what? How's the weather? So China's going to say, how's the water element up here in relationship to the earth element down here? Because if the water element, if you just like had a freak out and you went into a fight and the water element got really hot, metaphorically, then this is not going to be able to absorb because the water will have turned into steam. Oh, but hello, polyvagal humans. Same thing happens when water freezes. Water floats when it's frozen. So any stress response, any trauma response is going to create an experience of distance between the water and the earth. Does not matter if I'm in a functional freeze or dorsal, whatever the fuck. Okay, because it's this passage here. It's the passage between the brain and the body that gets impacted. Not your fucking vagus nerve trying to do its job. And I just like, because truly, if you make the landscape bigger, then you have more room as well. So this window of tolerance then just becomes, am I able to be with the experience of what's going on inside of me? Is there too much up and down? Is there too much in and out? Am I like feeling afraid? I don't know. And then you can look at this and contemplate like the characters, right? How's my Buddha today? How's my wisdom today? How's my little inner child today? This bitch, the Weaver, I have assigned all of my autoimmunity to her because she has a little bit of an idea about her job. She's overzealous. She thinks she has more authority. Autoimmune disease is when your immune system misinterprets you as the threat. Isn't that wild? And then we get to go to doctors that specialize in the organs that are attacked, but not an immunologist. He would actually specialize in our whole immune system. Right here. Weaver is here. Yeah. Oh, good. I'm glad you think it makes sense. So what you get in the free downloads is a whole set of flashcards. There's a booklet. There's probably something that gives you a just like an audio rundown of me, and then a tour of this. The self-paced bundle is a set of different like video descriptions of whole slideshows, plus the slideshow, plus guided exercises. So guided smile, guided sounds, guided so that you can do them without having to first also take a thing. I would, if you join my Substack, you get the free bundle. And then the $20 is for all of the other stuff. And you get shit. So, I shouldn't use that word. And I just put it up yesterday, so I'm going to be editing it. But at $20, even if I made an error in how I put things, like what order, if you see spelling errors, please do not worry. Everything that's in there has been already in use for years. Just haven't put it together that way. And that was a way for me to do it right away and simply, rather than having to go into some big design process and curricula design. Because I actually have a background in that, and which is why I'm telling you, I'm pretty sure I got it to where you have everything you need, and then you'll be like properly confused, but also you could walk away, never see me again, and you'd have tools that you can put into use. So I do not like the idea of being a barrier to this or being a requirement. I have a lot to offer and to teach, and for you to pay me, you should not have to learn open source information to help your flipping... Oh, good, it's helped you heal so much. Yay! Proper confusion. It's the properness of it though, right? Because this is all fairy tales for your body. These are not war scenarios for your body. These are fairy tales. Yeah, it's real fun. So as I continue to now understand the most essential information that you need to have, I will start doing videos specific to the content in that course so that you can also just access that and then make your decision. I'm also doing Trust Your Inner Wisdom. Yes. It kind of does click, and then it goes, then the cube falls apart and you're like, wait a minute, I forgot how I put, it's like a puzzle box, right? You keep putting it together and then it shows up a different way, but it always comes back. And even if it looks completely fucked up, the cool thing about Chinese medicine is the energy body is contemplated whole and complete regardless. So when I had my breast removed, they were doing acupuncture on this side because I had radiation and all kinds of stuff here. If I didn't have a limb, my other limb would be able to be treated with the acupuncture. It's so cool. Oh, pardon my little burpee. So yes, the inner landscape. This is the thing. This is where it's at. For sure. It'll turn you into a fancy brain scientist without you meaning to, but also help you understand compassion. And I don't know if this fixes behavior in that whole flippin' my proper confusion in the whole like behavior modification thing. It has helped me. I was hanging out with this Lama from Tibet. I will leave you with this. I was hanging out with a Lama from Tibet, Lama Tarchen Rinpoche. I say hanging out because I wasn't his student. I was not his student because he would say, oh, Katie, go have a 17-hour-long visualization of this whole big thing. And I would say, no can do, Lama Tarchen. I don't see anything when I close my eyes. And he'd go, oh, you're so cute. It's like 25 years ago. That is called aphantasia. Aphantasia wasn't labeled until 2017. I'm with this guy in the early 90s. And then right around that time, my partner was like, let's go to China, basically, because I already had a bunch of education and stuff from the philosophy. And I started to learn the tantric practices. And because they go straight to the organs, what I was finding is I don't know what anger feels like all the time unless I'm like mad, right? I'm not really sure. I'm very good at thinking like I'm in friendly fire and I'm not, and like I'm in an unsafe emotional context. It's like the whole not knowing I'm autistic, like all that. The certainty of I know where my brain is. I know where my heart is. I know where my liver should be. I know what a spleen is. I can look, you can, right? Then the paired emotions become like practice for having the experience of feelings, and they were giving me locations in my body to understand the sensations that I have. I don't know if I ended up like labeling all my feelings the correct way, for nobody's testing that, but it was so liberating for me to not have to be able to visualize what I can't, or God bless you, Buddha. I can't, like, I don't understand that, but I know where my liver is. I know where my liver is. And look, Buddha, Taoism, they go together like chocolate and peanut butter. But also Christianity, Judaism, Sikhism, like any frame fits here because this is you. And they put heaven in the head. So however you understand the great release and, happily ever to infinity, there's a place for it. Which is, I just think, so amazing. You see too much when you close your eyes, then don't close your eyes. That's obnoxious for me to say, Jasmine. Truly. I apologize. I was really just thinking about the practices and not the consequence of that kind of vision. It's a very big deal to be hyper phantasic and to see clearly in the mind if you're also trying to change some of the patterns. It's like you keep seeing your ex-boyfriend all up on social media all the time for some folks. Yeah, you stop meditating. That makes sense. I got into some real problems with transcendental meditation. Walking meditation, yes, very good. So that is meditating. It's just not still. Moving meditation, by the way, is more balancing for the yin aspects of us. Seated meditation is more balancing for yang aspects, right? Because if yang is more active, then you're going to balance more passive. With TM, first of all, transcendental meditation does work for me. I have echolalia. And so if I'm in a loop, if I'm looping cognitively, and I'm in a framework like transcendental meditation where I'm also looping my mantra, that can influence my experience of my own cognition. And my teacher did not understand what echolalia and autism are. He just said, oh yeah, sure, you'll be fine. I'm glad I didn't do any of that initiation before I had cancer. I waited until I was done with cancer. But I'm going to go do TM after this. I'll do some meditation. I just need to be aware if I'm looping, that transcendental meditation is not going to help me stop looping. It's just going to help me continue to loop because of the echolalia, not because of the practice. Transcendental meditation has a measurable impact in our brain oscillations within minutes towards theta, towards the very, very deep state of meditation. And it's an ultraviolet experience. Yeah. Echolalia is when you repeat things in your head over and over and over and over and over and over and over. I would imagine some people assign some of that to OCD behaviors as well, depending upon how it's discussed in therapy. Because it could sound like you have obsessive thought, right? Okay. Live long and prosper. Tomorrow, I want to hang out and do some somatics and some sound so that we can just hang out. Please go download things. Please buy the $20 thing. Tell your friends to buy the $20 thing. If $20 is out of your budget, please tell me. I am not an asshole. I just need to pay my rent. So I figured 20 instead of 1,000, then more people can have it. And it's going to be better for all. But also get the free thing. I appreciate you back. See, we all started the day one way. Now we're in this middle part of the day, this way. Later, we'll have a body. But that's just not where this month this morning. I'll see ya. Bye-bye.